The wizard is often called the Batman of the party, coming to each situation with as many solutions as they can muster. If you really want to be able to solve as many situations as you can, consider these magic items as a way to strengthen that ability and to stretch your spells much farther than they would go otherwise. Starting our list off at number 10, we have the uncommon Ring of Puzzler's Wit from the Book of Many Things. This ring doesn't require attunement and allows you to expend a charge from its 3 charges to give you advantage on any intelligence check. This might seem very minor. After all, it's just advantage on up to 3 intelligence checks each day. However, this not only applies to any skill checks using intelligence, but also to any ability checks. One of those ability checks just happens to be Counterspell, and when cast by a wizard, it uses the caster's spellcasting ability score as its ability for the check. This makes the ring almost a guaranteed counterspell against a higher level spell, shutting down enemy spellcasters and preventing your party from being defeated by an enemy's high level fireball. For this reason alone, it's worth taking as a wizard. But it can also be used on any other ability check you make with your intelligence, such as an Arcana check to identify magic items being used, a History check to determine an unfamiliar coat of arms seen on an antagonist banner, or even a check you make to try to win at a game of chance. This is all very useful, but it's a relatively narrowly focused effect, making the Ring of Puzzler's Wit occupying only the number 10 spot. And keeping you from being eaten by lions and tigers and bears at number 9, we have the Barrier Tattoo from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. This tattoo, formed by attuning to a magical needle, gives you AC as if you're wearing armor without needing to, similar to the Mage Armor spell. However, while its uncommon version is 1 less AC than Mage Armor, its rare and very rare versions give you 15 plus up to 2 dexterity bonus and 18 with no dexterity bonus as the AC instead. That makes this item much better for spellcasters who do not prioritize their dexterity bonus. It frees up the need to use a spell slot in Mage Armor spell, and it can also give a higher AC to anyone except for someone with a 20 dexterity. This is especially true if you have a 15 or lower dexterity score. Mage Armor gives a person with a plus 2 dexterity 15 AC. The rare version of this item gives the same person 17 AC, or 18 at very rare quality item. 2 or 3 points is a full 10 or 15% reduction in your chances of getting hit, which for a squishy wizard could be the difference between being unharmed and losing concentration on your spells, or worse, going down to 0 hit points and dropping unconscious. And best of all, this AC stays while you're sleeping, helping prevent you from getting ambushed in your sleep. Consider your AC an investment in your future, and this item a very solid starting point. And at number 8, we have your personalized spell bank, the rare Ring of Spell Storing from the Dungeon's Master's Guide. This ring, if you attune to it, can act as a storage receptacle for up to 5 levels of spells, giving you the ability to cast those spells out of it later. What this means for the wizard, as a prepared caster, is that you can put those utility spells you really want to be able to prepare, but can't fit in your daily repertoire, spells that would be useful in these situations when you need them. Spells like Water Breathing for exploring a sunken wreck, Silent Image for summoning an image of an escaped prisoner to distract guards, or Control Water to suck enemy ships down into the sea beneath, or at least slow their pursuit enough to escape. This ring stores those spells for you, freeing up you to prepare only the most completely relevant spells that you certainly will need, but giving you a backup whatever spells you think could end up being useful later. Very useful to stretch your spells as far as you can go to solve as many problems as possible, which is why it's perfect for a wizard. Giving you sight beyond sight, at number 7, we have the legendary Orb of Skoraeus from Bigsby Presents Glory of the Giants. While attuned and held, this orb allows you to use it as a spellcasting focus. On top of that, you get a plus 2 bonus to Constitution saving throws you make to maintain concentration on the spell, making it much more likely for you to succeed. It also gives you a superior version of dark vision out to 120 feet, letting you see normally in magical and non-magical darkness instead of it being treated as dim light. This means you don't have disadvantage on perception checks to see in the dark, and you can cast a spell like Darkness or Maddening Darkness and still see through it perfectly, letting you target foes inside while they're still blinded. As if those benefits weren't already enough, you also have 3 charges every day that you can spend to ignore 300 gold worth of material components per charge spent. This means you don't need the Diamond Dust for Stone Skin when you need physical protection, or the Attuned Metal Rod for plane shift if you very badly need to get to Elysium or the Abyss, or worse, need to escape the Abyss. And it can also reduce the cost that you need, lowering something that needs 1,000 gold in material components down to only 100 gold, such as Planar Binding, which lets you save money when you really need the services of an exoplanar being like a celestial. This will save you thousands of gold over the span of a campaign, making this item a financial investment almost as much as it is a character one. The first book on this list, at number 6, we have the Arcane Grimoire from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. This tome can be used as a spellcasting focus for wizard spells and gives you bonus to spell attack and spell saves based on the rarity, giving at least a +1 at uncommon, but as high as a +3 at very rare. On top of that, this book can be used as your spellbook, and when you use Arcane Recovery during a short rest to get spell slots back, the number of spell slot levels you get back is 1 higher. This item extends your longevity in a day, giving you more spell slots to work with, but also can give you a massive +3 bonus to all your spell attacks, and more importantly, your spell saves. Because these bonuses are rare and hard to come by, with most features granted advantage rather than a flat bonus, this book is incredibly useful. If your spell save goes from 15 to 18, a beholder goes from having an almost 2 in 5 chance of succeeding at your fireball to having just a 1 in 5 chance. Plus, it can function as both a spellbook and an arcane focus, letting you ignore material components and lowering the weight of tomes you need to carry on your person. If you find an Arcane Grimoire in the wild, snatch it up as soon as possible. Stylish and useful at number 5, we have the legendary Robe of the Archmagi from the Dungeons & Masters Guide. This item requires attunement, but for that cost, gives you a base 18 of 15 plus your dexterity modifier, making it an improvement over the barrier tattoo, and a full 2 points of AC above mage armor spell, no matter what your dexterity bonus is. In addition, it gives you advantage on all saving throws against spells and other magical effects, such as the Aboleth's ability to magically charm others with its Enslave ability. The strongest feature of this robe, however, is the +2 bonus it grants to your spell saves and spell attack rolls. This bonus can help to elevate your spells from their occasional effective status to rarely failing. This means that a spell like Banishment, which can remove a monster from a fight for up to a minute, does nothing if the creature succeeds on a saving throw, becomes much less of a risk, and much more of a calculated threat assessment. Facing a foe with high AC, the +2 from this can help your Scorching Rays deal their 2d6 fire damage every time, instead of only hitting with like 1 out of the 3 rays you fire. And always remember, these bonuses stack with each other. So if you're trying to decide between being attuned to the Robe of the Archmagi or the very rare version of the Arcane Grimoire, consider using both together for a +5 total bonus. Altogether, this item is solid with offense and defense, giving you an assortment of both that helps you be better in general. And coming with a bit of baggage at number 4, we have the legendary Tome of the Steel Tongue from the Dungeons Master's Guide. While you're attuned to this book, you can use it as both your spellbook and an arcane focus. And while you're holding it, you can use a bonus action to cast any spell you've written in it without using verbal or somatic components once per day. This is effectively a subtle and quickened spell, but for a wizard instead of a sorcerer, which is very powerful. Imagine being able to use your bonus action to cast a Cone of Cold where it'll do the most damage, directly against a bunch of enemies, and then still having your action to disengage and walk away. Even better, because the spell has no gestures, no verbal phrases, you can cast within a silent spell without anyone none the wiser. Want to unnoticeably charm a nobleman while his guards watch on? Just hold this book under your arm. The one downside to this item, and a reason it isn't higher on this list, is because it is directly connected to Vecna. So he gets to spy on you as long as you have it and can write you messages in the book at midnight that fade when you read. However, an enterprising wizard could spin that into an advantage. Having Vecna as a pen pal may not be the worst thing for a wizard looking to delve into forgotten or forbidden magics. One of the most well-known staffs of all time, at number 3, we have the legendary Staff of the Magi from the Dungeons Master's Guide. This staff is the strongest staff in the game, requiring attunement to use, but giving you access to the most spells possible. It has a whopping 50 charges, getting back 16 per day on average. Using these charges, you can cast one of its 13 spells, such as Dispel Magic to get rid of magical traps, Invisibility to sneak past enemies, Knock to unlock doors, or even Plane Shift for taking you to any place on any plane. And it even has 6 spells you can cast without charges from it, like Detect Magic so you can see magic into dispel, and Arcane Lock to block doors behind you and prevent foes from catching up to you. All of these spells free you to prepare spells you can't access from the staff, or you can double up to increase the total number of times you can cast those spells in a day. As if that weren't all, the staff also acts as a magical quarterstaff, giving you a +2 attack and damage rolls made using it, or a +2 bonus to spell attacks made while holding it, making you that much more deadly with your targeted offensive magic. So long as you hold it, you have an advantage on saving throws against spells you find yourself on the other end of, And if someone targets only you with the spell, you can use a reaction to absorb the spell. This completely negates it and adds a number of charges back to the staff equal to the level of the spell you negated. However, user be warned. If the number of charges goes above 50, or if you just choose to break the staff with an action, the staff explodes in a massive 30-foot radius burst. That's nearly guaranteed to kill anything within 10 feet, but lowering in damage as it goes further towards the radius. There is a bright side to this, however. You may be able to escape because you have a 50-50 chance of taking twice as much damage as anyone within 10 feet, potentially as much as 900 damage, or being thrown into a random plane of existence. Make sure to keep careful track of how many charges you have, and don't break it unless you absolutely are sure it's the only option available to you. And if you do, maybe you'll have a cool story to tell for it, but the staff will be gone forever. Proving that the mind is stronger than the body at number 2, we have the very rare Crystalline Chronicle from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. This sphere is a psychic spellbook, functioning as a psychic crystal storage device for certain spells. Now, this doesn't mean you can store your spells in it, but you can prepare spells from its list as long as you're attuned. This gives you access to all kinds of psychic spells, like Detect Thoughts, Sending for Communication, and Telekinesis for those of you who prefer the practical applications of psychic powers, or just like picking big things up with your mind and throwing them around. While you hold this crystal, you can use it as a spellcasting focus, and it gives you a bonus cantrip. Mage Hand for moving small things or opening doors, Mind Sliver to make it more likely your foes will fail the next saving throw, and Message for close range communication. But the usefulness of this item does not end there. If you spend a minute studying the crystal, you can spend one of its 3 charges to replace one of your prepared spells with one of its spells, meaning that you don't need to prepare the utility spells if you keep a charge free. And whenever you cast a wizard spell of any kind, including cantrips, you can spend 1 charge to cast it with no verbal, somatic, or material components, so long as they cost 100 gold or less. This means that, like the Tome of Steel Tongue, you can use this ability to sneakily charm someone with a charmed person, or escape from detection by silently going invisible with invisibility. You can even make someone doubt their own sanity by using something like Phantasmal Killer with no one the wiser. That enemy could drop dead without anyone knowing anything other than that they were hallucinating the worst fear right before they died. And finally, teaching us to stay in school at number 1, we have the legendary Nether Scroll of Azumar from Candlekeep Mysteries. Our number 1 item being a scroll seems incredibly strange. After all, scrolls normally are single-use items that let you cast 1 spell. Not so for this scroll. The Nether Scrolls of Azumar from Candlekeep Mysteries takes 30 days of continuous, concentrated study, meaning at least 8 hours per day devoted to just study, to try to understand its contents. After you finish, you have to make a DC 25 Arcana check. If you fail, you take a whopping 16 D10 psychic damage, which if you survive, sets you back to 0, making you redo the whole thing. If you succeed, however, you instead increase your intelligence score permanently by 2 to a maximum of 22 instead of the usual 20, and you get permanent advantage on saving throws against spells and magical effects. If the Robe of the Archmagi is useful for granting advantage against magic while attuned, this scroll is infinitely better for giving you advantage permanently without requiring an attunement. And increasing your intelligence score permanently above the normal cap for ability scores is incredibly powerful, giving you a +1 to spell saves, spell attacks, saving throws, and any intelligence ability checks, like the check used when attempting to counterspell another spellcaster's magic. Also, when you first finish your study, a stone golem magically appears within 60 feet of you, acting as an ally for you forevermore. This is a free challenge rating 10 creature, which may not sound like much for a character who could be 20th level, but at 20th level, a Circle of the Moon Druid can only take the form of a CR 6 beast. Infernal Calling and Summon Greater Demon both can temporarily conjure a CR 10 creature, but with Infernal Calling, you must convince it to do your bidding and spend a 5th level spell slot, while the demon conjured by Summon Greater Demon, a 4th level spell, gets a chance to break free of your control every round. This is a stone golem that will always follow your commands to the best of its ability for the rest of your life. Once you die, it collapses into dust, not restored even if you are restored to life. Considering this simple power the benefits the scroll gives once read, this is easily the best item a wizard could ever want. But just make sure you plan on having a month of downtime for reading it.